Welcome to the latest Libertas video. Today we're going to be continuing and finishing our series on creating the left and right gauntlets of Alexios or Kassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In the previous video we did really finish up making the top portions of the gauntlet, and now we're going to be doing the under wraps or the Undergauntlet as it is. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here I am measuring out portions of my arm to make a very simple basic gauntlet that will serve as the design for both left and right undergauntlets. So cut it out, test it on the arm, test it with the vambrace on top of it, and continue to cut out templates. And here I have my red burlap fabric that I'm cutting strips out of. Test it on my arm to see that it will wrap up all the way. And then I realized I should probably use red foam because the red's going to show through. So we are going to start attaching the burlap fabric. So what I'm doing is I'm just pinning it down, or not even pinning it down, just laying it down, figuring out how long it's going to be, how to fake the wrap, and then hot gluing it down to the foam itself. So I just kind of continue this process, making sure it looks like it's a wrapped gauntlet where it should start and end, and kind of faking it this way. Now you'll see I run out a little bit of fabric here near the end. So I test it one more time, but then I cut even thinner strip and wrap my hand. So the undergauntlet is going to be two portions. It's going to be the hand and then the upper portion that covers the arm. So that would just give me a little bit more flexibility with my hand. And so going through, and I make tabs to make it easy on, easy off. So I'll wrap my hand and then tab it with the red Velcro around my wrist. So that way when I put the top portion on, it looked like one singular piece of wrapped fabric. So of course then I add that additional piece of fabric on. It's a little longer, a little overlapping, just to match in with what you see on the cosplay reference guide, and then try to figure out how to attach it to the inside. And so I keep measuring multiple times, figure out this is where I'm going to attach the red Velcro on the inside of the top plate, and then I test fit and draw out my lines. And I'm going to be attaching with hot glue the other portion of the fabric, or the Velcro. So get it in there, and I test my arm again and again and again, making sure I'm not making any mistakes. There I go, using the red Velcro, attaching it into the gauntlet the same way with the hot glue, and then once again double checking and drawing out a pattern where I should put the mating piece, and I attach it with hot glue. So now here I am testing it out on my arm and disappear. And there I am, pretty happy with how that all worked out. So here it is, a nice close-up. You can see it does look like a nice wrap around the arm. Should make it for a very easy on, easy off gauntlet, which was the whole idea behind this process. So here I'm using the yellow template, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the fabric, but I'm going to lay the 2mm craft foam on top of this. Kind of overlap it in these more mismatched angles. It's just what you see on the cosplay reference, and I'm going to overlay these on top. So I'm just doing the same thing, hot gluing them down, double checking where they should start and finish, and then seeing that they'll form correctly around the arm. This one was pretty cool. It's kind of got to be a little more creative with this one, and then you'll see that I realized that the undergauntlet, that main template that I made, was too straight, so I'll put a nice curved piece of red foam underneath. But there it is, tested out underneath the gauntlet itself. And here I am scoring. I'm just making sure not to cut through the foam, but just score it enough that when I heat seal it, it'll create that detail and make the look like very individual pieces of leather straps. Now I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I'm going to get this leather, chrome leather, that wrap around the wrist that you see in the cosplay reference, and finally came down to the option of I'll glue it onto the fabric that's on the right gauntlet, and then wrap it around my wrist and tab it with the red Velcro again. So that idea, I can just wrap it around my wrist and Velcro it down, and it should look pretty good. So it took a long time to figure that part out, but I finally did, and there I am hot gluing it. The leather's a little bit more difficult to glue down to, so I ended up scoring it with a knife to make sure that the tabs would actually stay down. Otherwise, they have a tendency to pull off, which kind of defeats the purpose. So anyway, we finally get this gauntlet working, and yeah, I think it served the purpose. Now I'm going through, there's one last piece. If you remember from the beginning, I said that the hand guard should actually be a separate piece and then it's stitched on to the rest of the gauntlet, but we did one singular piece of foam. So here I am faking it. So I'm taking just simple twine and I'm, you know, sewing it through. Of course, I went the wrong way. I went more straight up and down. It needs to be more diagonal. So I took everything out again and re-sewed it back in. So then you'll see once I finish up with the sewing, I go through, I tie it all down, and then I just hot glue the heck out of it to make sure it's never going to move again. So it's a little bit of a time-consuming process, but I think it turned out looking really cool and it's really cheap. You know, it's just simple twine. So with that being said, we're going to be test fitting again. So wrapped up my hand, wrapped up the wrist, got the gauntlet on, and I'm really happy with it. So here I am heat sealing the left undergauntlet. This is drawing out a lot of those lines, but also making sure the foam is prepared to accept the plasti dip, seal coat, and then we'll also be painting on top of it. So just preparing the foam itself. And then we jump into actually plasti dipping it. I'm doing a light tack coat to begin with, and I know this is much more of an automotive application of the plasti dip, but that's how I know how to use this stuff. So you probably could start off with a nice thicker coat and do a few less coats than I did, but like I said, this is how I know how to do it. Then I go back and I'm using nice thick heavy coats to continue to fill in the plasti dip. I just got to make sure that I'm hitting those ridges where everything overlaps, because the plasti dip tends to make the stuff pull back and you'll see that red and yellow, which is kind of dumb looking. And here I go painting. It's very similar to how we painted the top portion of the right gauntlet. I'm using various pigments of browns and black and white to make very different shades, and it just pulls together this worn, lived-in feel for the leather. Of course, you can see I didn't plasti dip the underside because I ran out of plasti dip, but figured no one's going to see it. So I'm just painting the top portion, and it's looking pretty good. Really happy with it. And now I'm doing a black wash, so I'm diluting the black acrylic paint, painting it on top and then rubbing it away relatively quickly. Leaves the black in the details and makes it look much more worn and used. Really happy with that. And making tabs for the Velcro, again, just hot gluing them down after I've placed them down onto the foam. So easy on, easy off. That's the goal. So, and now I'm figuring out, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the fabric. I'm just making a wrap for the left hand. So it's going to be two pieces again. We'll wrap the hand and then the foam will go on top of the actual arm. So it'll be two pieces, but hopefully look like one at the end of the day. And test fitting things here and there. Now I'm using the leather strap I'll be attaching everything down with. So I'm just using a thin leather brown strap. And yeah, once you slide the arm through, then you can just tie it down. At least that was the goal. All right, and we are back, and we have a little update on this project. Of course, like I promised, we are learning, and this is no exception. So here's the Undergauntlet as it stands right now. Absolutely love it. Love the texture, love the painting. Looks really good and would be awesome if it actually functioned a little bit better. Downside is I made it so it's just slightly too bulky for my arm. Reason is because I made the warbler when I heat formed it. I formed it to my arm when it was bare skin. So of course these two sections are too close together, too tight. Now this does have a little bit of flex to it, and I probably could heat it up and spread it out again, but I don't want to mess with it now that it's painted. Not really sure what the heat would do to the paint, so I'm not going to mess with it. Fortunately, that means that this is just too bulky to be under the arm. Might be okay if you were just going straight to a convention, not using your arm too much, because you can totally force this down, but the problem is the warbler is very stiff, and so are the straps that I'm using to tie everything down. They're just small, thin leather straps. Problem is they're so much more rigid than the foam. My fear is that you get enough activity going on it, you're just going to tear right through the foam, and that would absolutely suck to be either in the middle of a convention, middle of a video shoot, and this thing just dissolve on you. And maybe some people out there that have done more foam than me can chime in and say, no, this will be completely fine. And I'm sure there's plenty of ways where you can seal this up better. I believe there are a couple ways, like especially how people do LARP weapons. You probably could seal this up real good and not have to have any issues with, you know, friction and stuff like that. But for this project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a different option and go with just a leather strap. This is something I typed into Amazon. Leather strap, about 1 inch thick and 84 inches long, so it should cover up my entire wrist. And then I also have these thin leather straps. They are cut up from my chrome tanned leather, and I just got those from the random leather scraps that you can get, say at a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's. They come in a bag. It's a whole bunch of assorted just scraps from the leather factory, and so you can get those and you can try it out yourself. It's kind of a mixed bag. You don't really know what you're getting, but sometimes you can see into them just a little bit and find, oh yeah, that's going to work out for me. And so I lucked out with that one, and it's going to work well for this project. So there are plenty of ways to do this. You could probably just even get away with using the singular strap as it sits right now and just go start on the hand and go all the way up the arm, but we'll use the hand with a little thinner so we get a little bit more flexibility, and then we'll use the thicker straps just for the arm. It will still be thin enough that the warbler can sit on top, and it will be durable enough that it won't fray up as the more rigid structures are there. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. I know I said that we weren't going to be using leather, but hopefully this is still pretty accessible. Put a link in the description below where you can get this type of leather strap. But I'll set up the GoPro, we'll get started, and I'll check it back in with you to end this video. So see ya. So we're back. We're taking the leather strap that made for the hand and putting like a brass tab or rivet there, so that when I get through, I can just push down the leather and it kind of puts it in place. So it's replacing the Velcro that we used on the right gauntlet. And then that same tab or button or rivet is used for the left strap. So then I just wrap it around from that point. It stays in the exact same spot, and I put another tab rivet at the top portion. And here I go, just test fitting it again onto the arm. And there it is. It's done. It's complete. It's on my arm. We're done with this project. Of course, you can see the rivets where we finished off. Made it really easy to put this and wrap it around the arm. Of course, the straps for the clips for the straps should be painted brown, and we can definitely do that in the future, and possibly weather up some of the leather to make it look a little bit more worn and match in with the gauntlet. But really happy with how it's standing right now and how it's looking. Take a quick look at the right gauntlet. Of course, love the detail on this one. Really happy with how it turned out as well. So where does that leave us? Well, that's going to do it for this particular series on creating these gauntlets. We will do a review in the future on the gauntlets so we can kind of wrap up this entire series. But in terms of building it, we're complete. And like I said, I'm really happy with how they turned out. Particular highlight for this project was working in the Warbler. Really loved it, and I will be using it again in the future because it was so cool. And I really love how the detail on the foam turned out. I thought we were able to get it look pretty realistic for foam, and yeah, I mean, I was just kind of blown away by what we were able to create with it. So super happy with that as well. And of course, working with the leather again was a treat. Just the smell, the way it works, just the way it comes out working as a gauntlet. Oh, it just looks really cool. Brings back all those feels from working on the Bayek leather gauntlet. So anyway, there's going to be a ton of links in the description below where you can find all the resources for this particular video. And of course, check out the other videos in the series if you haven't already to see how we put these gauntlets together. Of course, like I said, we're going to be doing a review to wrap it all up. But that's really going to do it for us tonight. I hope you're encouraged, I hope you're inspired, and I hope you're somewhat entertained. And I hope you guys get out there and make something yourself. That's going to do it for this particular video. We'll see you on the next Libertas video.